Hello everybody, welcome back to yet another Deltarune theory video. This is my third one now, and with the recent Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 announcement trailer, I'm going to be using the information footage that we've got from that to try and predict the future of Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4. Now, some basic ground stuff before we get started. Obviously, Chapter 3 and 4 are not out yet. If you watch this video assuming that they were, or if they already are, and you thought it was after, for some reason, yeah, they're not out yet. I don't know why you would watch this and think that they are. Sorry. That was really rude of me. I'm sorry about that. Also, I am merely theorizing. I'm just making conjectures. Anything I say isn't 100% a fact. I'm really just stating my own opinions. I am pretty dumb. If you think anything I say in this video is wrong, it's a good chance you're right. We don't really know until Chapter 3 and 4 really comes out, though. But, hey, you know, I am opening my mind to anything that any of you have to say. If you have any of your own theories, or anything that yet in this video you think I got wrong and you want to say, feel free to share it in the comments. I am very open to hearing all about that. You know, feel free. I won't judge. Most of the time. Anyway, so starting off, what is Chapter 3 versus what is Chapter 4? By that, I mean, which pieces of gameplay and footage have we got that we can tell is either Chapter 3 or Chapter 4? Because, you know, we got quite a lot from both the trailer and just general stuff after the trailer and, like, Steam footage. I know some reviews or store pages had different photos that weren't in the trailer. So, starting off, what has been confirmed to be Chapter 3 or Chapter 4? Now, I should say, I'm probably not going to use every single image that we know is Chapter 3 or Chapter 4. You know, I know there were some in the newsletters that probably aren't here, but mainly, just from what we've got recently, what do we know is Chapter 3 and Chapter 4? And, surprisingly, the answer is not a lot. We know this one screenshot of the TV man, who is presumably Tenna, is definitely from Chapter 3. I mean, you know, it says Chapter 3 is waiting when it's doing that full Chapter 3 and 4 are waiting. Ooh! You know? So, yeah, unless if Toby Fox is lying now, which, you know, believe it or not, he doesn't do a lot of the time. We'll get back to that later. Anyway, yeah, no, that is 100% Chapter 3. It has TV Tenna Man, which, you know, we saw at the end of Chapter 2, yeah. And then the next one that I'm pretty sure is confirmed Chapter 3 is this clip, which is pretty much just a more in-game clip that of the one we saw from the Spampton Sweepstakes. Now, technically, it's not confirmed to be Chapter 3, but it's just, we've seen the footage before. It's from Chapter 3. We all know it's from Chapter 3, fighting the Shadow Man enemy. It's from Chapter 3. And the only one that's confirmed from Chapter 4 that we've got is this one, which is, you know, like I said, when they're doing the Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4 is waiting. It's a clip of Chris and Susie running away from these little, ball of darkness on the, on what appears to be a bunch of Deltarune tablet plates thing. You know, very weird, considering we don't really know all too much story-wise about Chapter 4. So, it has something to do with a herd of dark balls. This looks like the boss of the train in Paper Mario 1000 Year Door. I don't remember the name because it's been a bit since I played it, but if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Anyway, as for the other images, which ones are they most likely to be in? Now, these are ones that haven't been confirmed, you know, although they're pretty obvious which one they're going to be in. So, I'm going to say which ones I think are where, and then do more of an in-depth explanation into each one as to why I think they're there. So for Chapter 3, I think we have that this is a photo that I don't know if a lot of people have seen, because it was only available in like a I think, one of the store pages for Deltarune, or one of the reporter reviews or something. I don't really know. But this one wasn't actually in the trailer. It's one of the self-selling. There's a big thing about the border, because they'd be like, oh my goodness, that's Tenna's design that we've been making fake ones for 2 years. And then there's this other one with Chris and Susie in the diner. I'm pretty sure this is similar to the other one where it was only in like a review or store page or something. And then the rhythm game, which very much was in the trailers. I'm sure everyone remembers it. Chris absolutely rocking that outfit right there. And then for Chapter 4, the Jockington Grows the Beard image was only available on the Steam page. Again, another thing that you might not have seen. This clip of Chris and Susie climbing on some rocks, I guess, that was in the trailer. And then another Steam page only image of Chris, Susie, and Rousey fighting these weird apparition enemies. And also this giant spire that's on the Deltarune, Deltarune.com. I don't actually know if that's something in-game, but if it is in-game, it's probably in Chapter 4. Or Chapter 5, 6, or 7. I just don't think it's going to be in Chapter 3. And also, just for those who don't know, the weird cat minigame that we saw we don't really know if it's going to be in Chapter 3 or 4. It's, well, I guess just for those who don't know, it's a console-exclusive minigame. That's just the thing that's there. The area on the right is the little snippet from the newsletter that he posted. Speaking of which, new newsletter's coming out next week. I'm probably going to make a video on that. Oh, it's pretty small, though, allegedly. But Toby announced that today. Sorry, off track. Yeah. For those who don't know, this cat thing is a console-exclusive minigame that's just going to be in a funny little room. And then, in every other console but the Switch 2, it's going to be something else that isn't that. So anyway, moving on from that. Now I'm going to do a little bit of an in-depth explanation, of each of these screenshots, why I think they're in Chapter 3, and eventually, what that really means. So, the first one, this one of Chris, Rousey, Susie, absolutely rocking out. For little other thing, this screenshot was on the Steam page too. It's not really anything new, but it does seem like the song's gonna have lyrics. So I don't know, maybe it'll be like Yakuza. I've never played a Yakuza game. I just know they have stuff like that. Maybe. I don't. Sorry. Anyway, as we can tell from the funny little TV Tenna Man, Chapter 3 is probably going to have a TV theme, and chances are good that's going to revolve around multiple different TV shows or specials, because we've also seen these little, the weather always sticks together guys, from, I forget their actual names, from the Spam from Sweepstakes. So, presuming from just the fact that it seems like it's going to revolve around TV shows, and the fact that we have a popularity thing over here, which I presume is like it's like the score, and there's not like, I mean, there could be two characters named Popu and Larity, you never know, but also from the fact that back there it looks like it says Lightners Live. I presume that this is going to be a little mini game where old TV Tenna is forcing us to perform in front of a crowd to make his shows go big and boom. That or a rival boy band trying to make his shows go down. I don't really know. But just simply from the fact that Chapter 3 has a TV theme, there's a pretty good chance this is from Chapter 3. Now this one, there's a funny little story behind it. Look right there in the middle, that's the unused sneaking animation that Toby Fox specifically said wasn't gonna be in the game. Though some people have been saying, just because they said, so we didn't do that, doesn't mean it's not gonna be in the game, but him saying that the song was unused, pretty clear, you know? Although that song does have the Lost Girl melody in it, so you never know. Well, I guess that does all matter if it's actually gonna be in the game, the song itself. But anyway, besides all that, the funny little things, blobs, that's actually not the first time we've seen them. It was actually in this image, which we have confirmation that that is a Chapter 3 image. So that alongside with the border guy being presumably Tenna's form. There's some theorizing that that's just going to be a bunch of fake Tennas, and the TV in the top right's the real Tenna. But I'm not really here to talk about that today. But if you think that, I agree with you, because I do actually think that's probably what it is. Anyway, so yeah, it's a Chapter 3 screenshot. We know that. Now this one, it's actually not that big of a screenshot, because we actually have got another screenshot before in a newsletter, which is just in the same place. And really, the only things I can do to say that this is from Chapter 3 is that Susie saying that Chris's family is weird could mean that she's talking to Toriel in the Dark World, because, you know, presumably Chapter 3 is going to be about Chris's family, right? And, you know, because it's in their house. So presumably it's going to be touching on that stuff, and this might be a scene after the fact where Susie's just in there talking to Chris about, wow, your family's crazy and weird. And actually, we can already see some of this in Chapter 2, because if you inspect Asriel's fake room made by Queen with Susie in your party, she makes fun of it. She says, man, I better hope I never meet him. That is not my Susie voice. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, presumably this is some scene taking place after the fact of the Dark World of Chapter 3, where Susie's like, wow, your brother's such a dork. But anyway, what does this mean, though? Well, actually, I think it's pretty obvious, judging by the fact that we have a giant band show and the green room, which was, again, in the Spam sweepstakes, and also the Weather Channel, man. I think that the main plot of Chapter 3 is that the Lightners are going to be TV stars, either for Tenna or against Tenna, and that the chapter is going to focus on them going from TV show to TV show, just getting into a bunch of crazy hijinks, going from a weather show to a concert. And they gotta, I guess, either do really good for Tenna or upstage Tenna. That's what I think. And, well, I guess there's also these little blorb things that it's just everywhere from what we've seen. People have theorized that this is meant to be some sort of audience, and frankly, that's really all I got, personally. I don't really have much theories as to them, other than maybe they're an audience, or maybe they're some weird illegal drug plant that Tenna's producing, and it's all about television corruption. Yes? Yep. That's what Chapter 3 is about. Drugs. Anyway, sorry. Chapter 4. As I said, we have the weird rock climbing screenshot, jogging grows the beard, funny little apparition enemies, and a totally huge giant tower. Now, I'm gonna be honest. Really, the only reason why I'm saying these are from Chapter 4 is because they're not TV themed, and they don't really have anything to do with the Dreamer house, which is, mind you, where Chapter 3 takes place, you know? So, that brings me to this conclusion, that Chapter 4 will take place in, and, well, frankly, if you've followed Deltarune theories for the past, like, I guess, month since the trailer's been released, you'll know that I'm about to say the church. Probably. Yeah, no. The popular opinion is that Chapter 4 is probably going to take place in the church, both from the fact that, well, like it says here, once you talk to Rudy in Chapter 2, he talks about seeing you in the church tomorrow, which, you know, really means that, like, the only place that we know we're going tomorrow that isn't our house is the church. And, well, that was the main theorizing for a little while, but then when the trailer got out, we got a bunch of new things. Mainly, see that little window right there? Well, that is part of the church. You probably saw it earlier over here. But in the one screenshot with Chris and Susie climbing, we can both see that the windows up there kind of share some similarities. Not really in design, but in shape, they're kind of similar. And another thing is that Susie's color or hue in this scene is very similar to the one that is in the screenshot of them all running away, although it's a bit more pink in that one. So, you know, I don't really know accurate comparison this is, but just something to point out. Then, in the other screenshot with the apparition enemies, there's two things that you can take from this. First off being that the health that you have in here is much higher than the amount of health that they have in that Chapter 3 screenshot, which is, again, one that we are practically confirmed to be from Chapter 3. So, yeah, that pretty much solidifies that screenshot as being from Chapter 4, no matter what. And another little neat thing is that these apparition enemies, some people are pointing out that they kind of look like bells. And, bells and churches kind of go hand in hand a bit. A lot of, churches involve bells to some extent. And then, in the Joggington Grows the Beard image, this little NPC to the left, some people have said that it looks like the bread that they use for communion, I believe. Yes. I am so right. People are pointing out the similarities there, especially with how they, they break the bread. That's the whole thing. Jesus did that, the Last Supper. And gave thanks, too. And people have, cleared that to the fact that there's a little chip off it. And also, there's also the spire, which, like I said, if it's in the game, it's probably there. It's surprisingly high quality. I really like how that looks. I stared at it for like 5 minutes when I first saw it. It's a beautiful image. Anywho, I think the main thing to talk about with Chapter 4, though, is how that one thing of Chris and Susie having darker colors. And, frankly, there's really only two options for this. The boring one is that they change colors when they touch whatever rock thingies that they're holding on. So, obvious to see with Chris how their color palette's kind of the same as the rock they're holding. And Susie, you can't really see it all too well, but they are holding, like, an orangish rock. I misspelled boring. Anyway, and then what I think is the cooler option, they're in a neo-dark fountain. Which can only be in a fountain that has been created inside a fountain. I think Queen referred to them as neo-dark fountains. I'm just conjecturing there, though. And we know that can happen, as can be seen with the infamous chair going darker yet darker. Or, no, darker than dark, I'm pretty sure. But, yeah, that's one of the main things that's been going around, that maybe, somehow, whatever fountain they're in, someone made another fountain inside that fountain, which made them all dark and gritty. Although, I think it could also be realistic that it's just the rocks, but who really knows? Now, another slight little thing I felt like pointing out here. The bells that these people do look like are sleigh bells. And, sleighs go hand in hand with, Santa, Christmas. And that made me think of this other screenshot that we also have of Chapter 4 of Noel in some presumably Christmassy area. And a lot of people thought that was the holiday house, but personally, after seeing this footage, I think that that's the church basement. And that these little bell apparitions are Christmas decorations that are turned into darkeners, and they are stuck in the basement, which is why they're all ghost and spooky and decrepit. Because, I've been in a few church basements in my time. There are a lot of decorations that are really just shoved in there. So, with all that out of the way, here is my totally logical and realistic outline of what is totally 99% gonna happen in Chapter 4. And this isn't me just making fanfiction. I swear, okay? So, starts off. The church. Who's going to the church? Chris and Susie. Why? Because they slept in by going to a dark world. And Toriel's like, oh my goodness, I have to get me children to the church. Because Susie's my child now. But not in a weird way. Anywho, so, they're in the church. Chris and Susie are in the church. Noelle and her dad are in the church. Alvin is preaching at the church. I don't actually know if Rudy's gonna be there. I mean, he's definitely gonna make an effort to, but it might be a thing where he doesn't, and Noelle's like, man, my dad's abandoning me. I hate my mom. Where is my sister? She must be a lost girl. Anyway, what I think's gonna happen, Alvin's gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna now talk about some really dark stuff. Can all the children go downstairs? Because that's what they do in churches. Whenever they're gonna talk about the dark, gritty stuff, they get all the kids to go downstairs. Now, usually that's like 3rd graders, but maybe Susie's gonna be like, yo, I really want the free food downstairs. I'm gonna run on down. And since Chris is best friends with Susie, they're also gonna run on down. And since Noelle is, she's got her whole thing with Susie, she's also gonna run on down. So now they're down there in the basement. You know, it's also in the basement, the chair. Plot twist. Anywho, I think this is where this little screenshot's gonna come in. I think the basement's gonna be dark, and you're gonna need to find the lights. You know where they also need to find the lights? The closet in Chapter 1. I think that Noelle's scene here is going to directly parallel the scene in Chapter 1, and that this is actually a dark world. The church basement is the Chapter 4 dark world. Okay? Now, Susie and Chris, they're down there. They're doing their stuff. They're like, oh my goodness, we have to stop whatever chess piece is getting here. I think it's gonna be the knight. Because you know who the knight is? It's Alvin! He's gonna come out of nowhere from the top rope, jump on down, slink, slang, slack, make a neo-dark fountain. And now the church is black. Everything is dark. Chris is gray. Susie is orange. The chair is dead. There are a bunch of dark balls for some reason. Yep. That's all I got. Sorry. Went a bit crazy there. But yeah, no, that's just the basic summary. I think Chapter 3 is gonna have a huge TV show theme. And they're gonna go from TV show to TV show, take down the evil and nefarious Tenna. And then Chapter 4 is gonna be, I think it's gonna be more serious. I know I wasn't as serious in there, but I think it is going to go to some kind of direction with that, whether Alvin be the knight or not. But I do think it's definitely going to have a more serious tone as compared to the other 3 chapters. And, you know, it is also kind of ceremonial to just do a secret boss, guess, you know. I don't really have a lot, so I might as well throw them out there. For Chapter 3, I'm basic. I do think it's going to be a canceled cowboy show, considering the, news, letter that talked about, oh, that's how cowboy shows go, I guess. And I don't know, maybe it's freedom from being a tax write-off or something, you know, Coyote versus Acme. I think whenever I think of canceled TV shows, I think of that one show that was written by the Gravity Falls guy, Alex Hirsch. I believe it was called Inside Job, I think. You know, speaking of which, actually, Toby Fox did have an interaction with Alex Hirsch recently. I also could be wrong about that being written by Alex Hirsch, but I heard that somewhere. But yeah, that was a whole thing where I think Season 1 went great, but then Season 2 or 3 got canceled to have 8 more seasons of Big Mouth. I don't know the legitimacy of that story. I just think it's very funny. Anyway, yeah, I'm basic. I think there's going to be a canceled cowboy TV show, and I think there's going to be a friend inside me. I actually don't really believe in the friend inside me theory that much, but I do think it's going to be a cowboy show. Anyway, with Chapter 4, there are significantly less things to choose from due to the fact that we don't know a lot about it, but presuming the fact that it has a religious aspect or might, I think of the Cain and Abel story, which is Cain and Abel offer their gifts up to God. God is like, Abel, you're awesome. Cain is like, why didn't God say I'm awesome? I might as well go kill Abel. So I think it might be more of a trying to get recognition from people, maybe to parallel how Chris is under-recognized compared to their overachieving brother, maybe. I don't know. But that's merely conjecture. That's all I got. Again, if you have any theories of your own that you want to talk about in the comments, feel free to. Think there's anything in this video that you either think I was completely wrong about or have a different opinion on, feel free to share it in the comments. please, I'm very interested in this stuff. I don't know if any of this will be right or wrong. You guys will come out to June 5th, in which I'll probably stream Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4 whenever they come out. But yeah, other than that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Ciao.